Hello, hello! It's SpeakNow 2. Special review SpeakNow, lesson 13 to 16. This is a very nice lesson because we review all the structures we've seen in the last 4 lessons. So let's see, starting with lesson 13. I can write pretty well. This is about adverbs. We describe how well we do something. Remember that? Let's just take a look. We talked about jobs, different jobs. Write the jobs in the categories: health, arts, education, science. Why don't you repeat? Professor, nurse, journalist, fashion designer, psychologist, sem falar o P, biologist, surgeon, graphic designer. And after talking about these jobs, we talked about how well we could do things, describing abilities and making a recommendation. I'm good at writing. Ah, you'd be a great journalist. I can write pretty well. You would make a great journalist. I'm not very good with numbers. You should consider becoming a teacher. I'm not very good at languages. I wouldn't recommend becoming a teacher. I can speak Portuguese very well. Ah, you should get a private tutor. I can't speak Portuguese very well. You should get a private tutor. Aí, contrata professor particular. Vamos aí ajudar os professores. And then we talked about abilities and making recommendations. Corta a imagem. Vamos Photoshop. Right? So let's go back and take a look at the page we are working at today. Like here. Tell student B about some things you are good at. I'm good at cooking. I'm good at making tea. What else? And then you can make a recommendation. You could work in a restaurant part-time. And can you describe abilities? Can you describe very well your abilities? Can you make a recommendation? So you tell me if you can do it very well or if you need more practice. Let's go to 14. I'd have to have, in this one, we have to tell student B or the other student or the teacher what you need in order to be successful in a certain field or job. Certain field, em certo campo da vida. Include things that are not necessary. And let's listen and then ask follow-up questions. Aquelas questões para saber mais detalhes ou para questionar mesmo o que a pessoa falou. Let's see. We used this vocabulary in the lesson. We talked about being a chef, a doctor, a server, or to be a flight attendant, a pop singer, or a pilot, or a firefighter, police officer, or cashier. Look at this guy here working in a kitchen, in a restaurant. Why the answers you chose do not fit? Well, this was the exercise: chef, flight attendant, and firefighter. There was one that wouldn't fit. I love this kind of exercise. It's a flight attendant because he flies, the other ones don't. Or, I don't know. Ah, no. It's in the vertical, like a chef and a server work in a restaurant. A doctor doesn't. A flight attendant and a pilot fly. A pop singer doesn't. Só quando ele se joga assim no meio da multidão para o pessoal carregar o cantor lá, por exemplo. A firefighter, a police officer, and a cashier. Let's say that these two are more dangerous jobs, right? Okay, and then we talked about necessities and expressing lack of necessity. In business, you need to take risks. You don't need to have a car, depending on the job. I would need a good kitchen to open a restaurant. I wouldn't need to have a car to have a restaurant. Se bem que ajudava você ir na feira, no supermercado para ver os produtos. I'd have to have some money. To start a business? Yes, surely. I wouldn't have to have an office. Yes, maybe not. You could work from home, at least in the beginning. I'd need to have a fresh idea. It helps. Remember, fresh idea, uma ideia nova, diferente. I don't have to cook things myself if you open a restaurant. Yes, no, you can hire a chef. Why not? And then we would talk about necessities and lack of necessities for these jobs. A translator, for example, you need to know at least 2 languages. You don't need to know Czech or Russian to be a translator of English to Portuguese. An accountant, you need to be good with numbers. You don't need to walk too much during the day. A writer, you don't need to have a typewriter, but you need to write well and know the language and the grammar of the language you're writing, you're using to write. An actor, well, you have to have good memory. It's really good for an actor. But you don't need to be too handsome or too beautiful. There are some roles in films and plays in which the actors aren't that beautiful or handsome. Well, this was lesson 14. Can you talk about the need to be successful in a certain field or job? A footballer, a soccer player, a surgeon, a pilot. Why don't we talk about these in the live lesson? And can you express necessities? Very well, great. Do you need more practice? Let's practice. Can you express lack of necessity? I don't need to, you don't need to, you don't have to. This is it. Let's go to 15. I travel for free. Do you remember that? Compare 2 jobs that might be suitable for you. Describe their pros and cons. Remember, pros and cons. Positive things, negative things connected to the job. But suitable, algo que combina com você. And let's see the lessons. It was lesson 36, lesson 15 on page 36. The vocabulary. We talked about things that people could have to do or could get because of the job, like traveling for free. That's nice. Getting long vacations as teachers. Works on weekends. Maybe not the most positive thing, but it's okay as well, isn't it? Stands all day. Oh, come on. Be prepared. Work on your legs, on your back and your legs, because otherwise you can have problems in the future. Makes good money. I won't see anybody that's going to complain about a job that makes good money. not because of it, maybe because of other reasons. Doesn't need a car. Or some jobs, you don't need to have a car to work. For example, sales assistant in a shop, a clothes shop. You don't need to have a car. You can have a car to go to work, to go back home, but during the work you are not driving. But imagine a taxi driver. A taxi driver does need a car because he drives all day or night. His job involves driving a car, right? Look, in part B, we had to tell the partner positive and negative things about jobs. A flight attendant travels for free, but works on weekends. This is positive, this is negative. Because of this, we use the word but. And what did we practice during the lesson? Describing pros and cons, like, I get to meet lots of interesting people in my job, but I have to stand all day. Do you remember the concierge? I can use my language skills, but the hours can be long. I can travel for free, but I don't get much vacation. I don't have to work weekends. I don't make much money. You see, so you have to balance everything to see, is this job for me? Can I deal with the negative things, with the cons of the job? Because some jobs we love the pros, but the cons are terrible. So you have to see. And we worked on a homemaker, someone who cares of the house, a blogger, a flight attendant, and a film director. In our lesson, in our live lesson, we are going to compare two jobs and see if they would be suitable for us. And we are going to describe the pros and cons. Can you describe pros? Can you describe cons? And you tell me, can you do it very well? Do you need more practice? I'm here to help you, all right? And finally, the last lesson was lesson 16. It's fresh in our memory. Is the manager there? In this one, in part A, we have two jobs, a magazine editor and a clothes store manager. Choose one of the jobs below and in a conversation with the other student or with the teacher, call the other person and ask for the manager. And think of and ask 3 questions about the job. What could be 3 questions about a magazine editor? What are the hours? What kind of articles does the magazine write about? And do I have to work in the office or can I work from home? 3 questions. A clothing store manager. What kind of clothes does the shop have? What are the hours? And how many employees does the shop have? Maybe, right? There are so many things to know. But you can ask other questions. That's the interesting thing. And then you are the manager of the company that student A is interested in. Answer the phone and answer his or her questions. So the teacher or student B is going to answer about a job, and you are going to answer about the other job, right? And my question is, can you ask for someone on the phone? Can you ask about a job? Do you remember how it was? The lesson in the book, we talked about a company's reputation, the size of the company, the salary, the hours, where the shop is, the location, the benefits, extra things that you can get from the job apart from the salary, the responsibilities involved. Imagine that clothes shop manager, more responsibilities than the sales assistant. And colleagues, we have these parameters, these aspects to talk about a shop. And the other part was to ask for someone on the phone, like, is the manager there? Can I speak to the manager, please? Could I please speak to the manager? You see, 3 different ways. This is the manager. And then you answer the phone, the person says, can I speak to the manager, please? And if you are the manager, you just have to say, speaking. Could I please speak to the manager? Please hold, I'll transfer you. Vai transferir a ligação. Good. Asking about a job. Is the job still available? Yes, we haven't filled it yet. Unfortunately, we have already filled it. What would my responsibilities be? Mostly preparing and serving coffee, attending clients and trying to sell clothes to them. What are the hours? You'd work on weekends from noon to 5 p.m. You would work on weekdays from 8 in the morning until 6 in the evening, and you would have a 2 hours lunch break. This is it. This is the language we used in lesson 16. It's fresh in our minds. So be prepared for our live lesson or the lesson in the classroom for us to practice even more this vocabulary and these structures to develop and fix these things and improve our English. All right? See you in the live lesson. Bye-bye.